Recently, we've been seeing a couple of news headlines like this, where machine learning algorithms uncover hidden scientific knowledge, similar train of thoughts, AI trained on old papers, makes some discoveries that humans missed, um, and this AI algorithm discovers new materials in the context of having analyzed past scientific papers. Now, the idea in this video is to show you a similar algorithm used by the researchers for this particular AI, and we're going to apply it to a local newspaper, actually from Malta, the Times of Malta. Very specifically, the national news articles. So the idea is to feed these news articles into our machine learning algorithm and see what comes out of it. The focus of the article is not of the video is not the technical side, the AI algorithm side. That will be a blog post. Plus, there's plenty of information online. However, what I want to focus on in this video is how to interpret the results from the machine learning algorithm. So the very first thing to do is introduce it to our data. The article that we saw before, it was scientific paper. In our case, it's going to be the article body that's displayed in the newspaper. So this text right over here. I wrote a Python scraper to do this, and you'll end up with a bunch of JSON files after it's run. However, this takes quite a while, and it's not very kind to the Times of Malta website, so if you can, use the JSON files that I'm going to upload. Looking at the JSON files, you'll see an output which is similar to this. So every article is downloaded and parsed, and we extract the following information. The author, which we won't use in this particular exercise. Keywords that describe the article. Now these are optional, as you can see. Sometimes they are filled in, sometimes they aren't. However, for the purposes of our machine learning algorithm, we are going to disregard the keywords. They're not going to be used. The only thing that the algorithm is going to look at is the article body. The keywords are really helpful though, because when displaying the data, it helps us figure out what the article is about. Also, just for posterity, I collected the comment counts, and we gave each article increasing ID, so that we would be able to get the article refer to the original article should we need it. So again, the only thing we're going to be using when we're feeding the machine learning algorithm is actually the article body. Nothing else. No author, no keywords, no comment counts, nothing else. Right, so once you have that information, we have another Python script which actually implements the machine learning algorithm, and it's based, as you can see from the title, on word2vec. But again, I'm not going to go into the technical details. The only important thing is these two flags right over here, want graph and want articles. In this case, we're going to set both of them to true. Graph, as you're going to see in the next video, generates undirected graph of all the words and their connections between them as seen by the AI algorithm. And want articles is what we're going to view just now, which shows you a very nice article analysis. So once you run the script, which will take quite a long while, you're going to end up with two outputs. One is this Tom Times of Malta word to vec.html, and the other one is this CIF file, tomgraph word to vec.cif. The CIF file we'll see in the next video. We're going to focus on this word to vec.html. Once you open it, you're going to be shown something like this. This is the end result of having run the machine learning algorithm on all the article content. Now, as you can see, every blue dot over here represents an article. So we analyzed the words within an article, asked the machine learning algorithm to plot them, and display the results. Here you can probably see that the articles start to cluster. So we have a very well-defined cluster over here, and then we see that the articles towards the edges also tend to cluster. So we have another well-defined cluster over here, another one here, and there's a whole bunch of articles which seem to be somehow related. And if we take a bit of a closer look, let's say we'll hover our mouse over this article, you see that a pop-up comes up with the label that shows you the original ID of the article, should you want to refer to it, which we will later on in this video. And if there are any keywords in the article, it will show you the original keywords. Now again, keep in mind that we didn't train the AI machine learning algorithm on the keywords. However, you can see that there are quite a number of articles which are grouped together that have the media keyword. So this seems to be a cluster which has to do with media. So one way of just testing that the AI algorithm has done its job is seeing if one of the articles that doesn't have a keyword, if it's actually related to media. So for example, let's take the top one over here. Article number 476 doesn't have any keywords. So you can run the script, which again I'll provide better instructions in a blog post. We just need to run the same script with the article ID, so 476, and it's automatically going to go and figure out which article this was. And over here you can see that there are a couple of terms which would make the article seem like it has to do with the media. Sunday Times of Malta, the Malta Independent on Sunday, interviews. So from the looks of it, actually, yeah, that's it. These are the top stories of Malta's newspapers on Sunday. So this is actually an article about the media. Let's take another example from another cluster. Let's see, over here we have a cluster which seems to be about accidents. So again, the AI algorithm is sort of figuring out which articles are similar to each other just based on their content. So this looks like it's a cluster to do with accidents in Malta. So let's perform the same test. The top one, which doesn't have any keywords, is 3552. Let's see if we're on our money over here. 3552, bang, 3552. Okay, and here, yeah, it is pretty obvious. A 35-year-old motorcyclist was grievously injured following a car crash in Shirkia. So even though there were no keywords, it correctly figured out what kind of article it was. So one thing the Times of Malta can do with this algorithm is actually automatically add keywords to its articles based on previous content. So there we go. Now, so that's one use case. The second use case is, considering that everything is clustered, there are going to be a couple of articles which don't quite fit in anywhere else. So, for example, this is part of the thing that the researchers had done. They looked for anomalies in their data. In their case, they had already tagged their articles with different keywords, and they looked for those articles which were, for example, tagged with accident, but instead of appearing in this cluster over here, was tagged further away, or different keywords articles clustering in different ways. So, but in our case, we're going to look for let's say different articles in the Times of Malta. We're looking for those articles which don't quite fit in anywhere else, and we want to see why, because we are curious. So, for example, a prime one over here would be this one over here. There's keyword goat, so it seems to be close to family and politics. Seems to be close to health. It seems to be close to a bunch of other articles, education. So let's see why this article is sort of on the side. 3317. Let's go back to our script. 3317. Okay. And here you can see that it's a very short article, which probably explains why it's a bit different. And it doesn't quite have a lot of art substance to it, so it's a bit difficult for the AI algorithm to classify it. However, it is an anomaly. Let's see if we can find something a bit more interesting. Let's say we would like to look a bit at the outliers. See, there's a very small outlier from the media articles, so 4026. Let's see what that is. Okay, here it still is the top stories in the newspapers. However, it's probably a bit different from all the rest because there are less newspapers being, or a different set of newspapers being analyzed over here, and there are some article headlines which are not too common, like the homosexuality is a physiological disorder. That is probably an anomaly within all the articles because it's something quite controversial, so that phrase probably doesn't appear very often. So again, this would be one way the AI algorithm sort of highlights which articles are interesting and maybe a bit more interesting that don't quite fit into the mold. And we can keep on doing this exercise for as long as you want. In fact, I invite you to do your own analysis and post anything interesting that you find within the videos. So if you are, for example, interested in looking at articles that have to do with construction, then you would find the cluster like I did over here, ideally, and then you could highlight that particular cluster and see which articles here the outliers look a lot jump out a lot more. You can see that this particular article stands out from the rest, even though it is construction. It is not very close to any of the other points. So you would grab the label 3779, stick it into that script, see what it's about, and see why exactly it is different. So that's the very first use of this AI algorithm, and in the next video we're going to take a bit of a deeper dive into how the AI algorithm builds these clusters and how you can use that as well.